The morning sun came up slowly over London on what everyone knew would be a very special day. Westminster Abbey looked beautiful with flowers and decorations everywhere. People had been waiting outside since very early in the morning to get the best spots to see Prince William. Some had brought chairs and blankets and had been there all night. The air was full of excitement, and everyone was talking about how important this day would be. Prince William woke up earlier than usual that morning. He stood by his window and looked out at the busy streets of London. Cars were already moving around and people were walking everywhere. He knew that millions of people would be watching him today on television. His stomach felt a little nervous, but he was also excited. This was something he had been preparing for his whole life. Getting ready took much longer than normal. Prince William had to put on special clothes that were very old and important to the royal family. The clothes were heavy and made of expensive materials. Helpers came to make sure everything was perfect. They checked every button and made sure his shoes were clean and shiny. His hair was combed perfectly, and not one piece was out of place. Catherine stood nearby watching him get ready. Why, she could see that he was thinking about many things. Knew he was remembering his father, King Charles, and his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth. This was a big moment for their family. She smiled at him and told him he looked wonderful. Their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, were getting ready too in their own special clothes. The drive to Westminster Abbey was amazing. Thousands and thousands of people lined the streets. They were waving flags and cheering as the royal car passed by. Prince William waved back to them through the window. He could see families with small children on their shoulders. Some people had painted their faces with the British flag colors. Everyone looked so happy and excited to be there. When the car arrived at Westminster Abbey, Prince William took a deep breath. The building looked incredible with all its old stone walls and tall towers. Photographers were everywhere taking pictures. Security guards were making sure everything was safe. Important people from all over the world were already inside waiting for the ceremony to begin. Walking into Westminster Abbey felt like walking into history. The building was hundreds of years old and many important events had happened there before. Prince William could hear his footsteps on the old stone floor. The sound echoed in the big space. Beautiful music was playing and the choir sounded like angels singing. The Abbey was completely full of people. Everyone was dressed in their best clothes. There were kings and queens from other countries. There were prime ministers and presidents. There were also normal people who had been chosen to come and watch this special day. Everyone stood up when Prince William walked in. As he walked down the long aisle, Prince William looked at all the faces watching him. Some people were smiling, and some looked very serious. The older people seemed to remember other royal ceremonies from years ago. The younger people looked excited, like they were watching something magical. Happened right in front of them. The Archbishop was waiting at the front of the Abbey. He was wearing special clothes too and holding an old book. The altar was decorated with beautiful flowers and golden items that were very old and valuable. Everything looked perfect for this important ceremony. Prince William could feel his heart beating faster as he got closer to the front. He thought about all the people watching on television around the world. In America, Australia, Canada, and many other countries, families were sitting together watching this moment. Some had gotten up very early in the morning just to see it happen live. The cameras were pointing at him from every direction. The camera operators were trying to get the best shots of his face and his clothes. The television commentators were talking quietly about what was happening and explaining everything to people watching at home. When Prince William finally reached the front of the Abbey, he turned around for a moment and looked back at everyone. The sight was incredible. Every seat was filled and everyone was looking at him. The moment felt very big and very important. He knew that this was a day that people would remember for many years. He could see Catherine sitting in the front row looking beautiful and proud. His children were sitting next to her, trying their best to be good and quiet. Other members of the royal family were there too, all dressed in their finest clothes. Everyone looked ready for something very special to happen. The ceremony was about to begin, and Prince William felt ready. He had spent his whole life preparing for moments like this. All the years of learning about being royal, all the events he had attended, and all the people he had met had led to this day. The future King of England was ready to show the world who he really was. The archbishop stepped forward and began to speak in a clear, strong voice that filled the entire abbey. His words were old and traditional, the same words that had been spoken at royal ceremonies for hundreds of years. Prince William listened carefully to every word. He knew that millions of people around the world were listening through their televisions and computers. As the ceremony continued, Prince William walked slowly toward the altar. Each step felt important and meaningful. The old stone floor beneath his feet had been walked on by many kings and queens before him. He could almost feel the history of the place surrounding him. Its beautiful stained glass windows let colorful light shine into the abbey, making everything look magical. The choir began to sing a song that was so beautiful it made some people in the audience start to cry. Their voices rose up to the high ceiling of the abbey and seemed to touch everyone's hearts. Prince William felt moved by the music. It reminded him of his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, and how she had loved these traditional songs. Television cameras were capturing every moment from different angles. The camera operators were very skilled and knew exactly when to zoom in on Prince William's face and when to show the whole abbey full of people. People watching at home could see everything perfectly. They could see the expressions on his face and how serious and respectful he looked. In the front row sat very important people from all over the world. There were kings and queens from other countries who had traveled far to be there. Were presidents and prime ministers who wanted to show their respect for the British royal family. Everyone was dressed in their most formal clothes. They all looked very dignified. Catherine watched her husband with pride and love in her eyes. She knew how nervous he had been that morning, but now he looked confident and strong. She remembered their wedding day years ago in this same abbey and how happy they had been. Today felt just as special and important as that day had been. Their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, were sitting very quietly and trying their best to be good. George, being the oldest, understood more about what was happening, watched his father with wide eyes, knowing that one day he might be standing in the same place. Charlotte and Louis were younger, but they could feel that this was a very important date. As Prince William knelt down at the altar, something unexpected happened. In the third row, a little girl who had come with her parents started to feel scared and overwhelmed. She was only 5 years old and had never been to such a big and formal event before. The abbey was so large, and there were so many people. All the fancy clothes and serious faces made her feel nervous. The little girl began to make small crying sounds. Her parents tried to comfort her quietly, but she was too upset to stop. The sound was soft, but in the quiet abbey, some people could hear it. Her mother whispered to her and tried to give her a small toy to hold. But the little girl was too frightened. Prince William was still kneeling at the altar when he heard the soft crying. Even though he was in the middle of this very important ceremony, his heart went out to the scared child. He remembered how his own children sometimes felt overwhelmed at big events. He knew exactly how that little girl was feeling right now. Without thinking too much about it, Prince William slowly turned his head toward where the crying was coming from. He could see the little girl sitting between her parents, tears running down her cheeks. She looked so small and frightened among all the formal, serious adults around her. What happened next surprised everyone in the abbey, and millions of people watching on television around the world. Prince William looked directly at the little girl and gave her the warmest, kindest smile anyone had ever seen. It was not a formal royal smile, but a real smile from his heart. His eyes were gentle and understanding, like a father comforting his own child. The smile seemed to say everything without using any words. It told the little girl that everything was okay and that she did not need to be scared. It showed her that even though this was a very important ceremony, there was still room for kindness and caring. The smile made her feel safe and protected. The little girl stopped crying almost immediately when she saw Prince William's smile. She wiped her tears with her small hand and looked back at him with wonder. She had never seen a real prince before, and she could not believe that he was being so nice to her. Her fear began to disappear and was replaced by curiosity and amazement. The cameras caught this entire moment perfectly. The television directors quickly realized that something special was happening and made sure to get close-up shots of both Prince William's kind face and the little girl's reaction. They knew that this was the kind of moment that people would remember forever. People in the Abbey who saw what happened felt their hearts warm up. Many of them were parents themselves, and they understood how scary big events could be for small children. They were impressed that Prince William had noticed the little girl and had taken the time to comfort her. Even during such an important ceremony, the Archbishop continued with the ceremony. But everyone could feel that something beautiful had just happened. The formal event had become something more human and touching. Prince William had shown that being royal did not mean forgetting about the feelings of others, especially children who needed comfort and reassurance. Within minutes of that smile being shown on television, something incredible began to happen all around the world. People who were watching the ceremony on their phones, computers, and televisions started taking screenshots of that exact moment. They could not believe what they had just seen. A future king had stopped in the middle of his most important ceremony to comfort a scared little child. Sarah Mitchell was watching from her home in New York City. She had gotten up at 5 in the morning just to see the ceremony live. When she saw Prince William smile at the little girl, she immediately grabbed her phone and took a picture of her television screen. Without even thinking about it, she posted it on her social media with the words, "This is why he will be an amazing king. Look at this kindness." Within seconds, her friends started sharing her post. Then their friends shared it too. The image began spreading faster than anyone could have imagined. People were adding their own comments about how beautiful and touching the moment had been. They were saying things like, "This made me cry happy tears, and this is what real leadership looks like." In Australia, James Cooper was watching with his whole family. His wife and 3 children were all sitting on the couch together, excited to see this important royal event. When the moment happened, his youngest daughter Emma said, "Daddy, the prince is being nice to that sad girl just like you do with me." James felt his heart filled with emotion, and he knew he had to share this moment with others. The internet was moving incredibly fast. On Twitter, people were posting about the moment every few seconds. The words Prince William and little girl started appearing in millions of posts. People were using heart emojis and crying face emojis to show how the moment had made them feel. Everyone wanted to talk about what they had just witnessed. Television news stations around the world were quick to notice what was happening online. News directors in London, Paris, Tokyo, and Los Angeles were all getting calls from their staff saying, "You need to see what people are saying about Prince William right now." The producers knew they had captured something very special on camera. BBC News was the first to put together a special segment about the moment. They showed the video again in slow motion so people could really see the expression on Prince William's face and the little girl's reaction. The news presenter said, "In 30 years of covering royal events, I have never seen anything quite like this. This was not planned or rehearsed. This was simply human kindness in its purest form." CNN in America picked up the story next. The royal correspondent said, "This single moment tells us more about Prince William's character than 1,000 formal speeches could. He saw a child in distress, and his instinct was to comfort her regardless of protocol or ceremony." They played the video over and over because viewers could not get enough of seeing it. People who had never cared much about the royal family before were suddenly paying attention. Maria Gonzalez from Mexico City had never watched a royal ceremony in her life, but her sister had sent her the video through WhatsApp. After watching it, Maria posted it on her own social media saying, "I do not know much about kings and queens, but I know a good person when I see one." The video was being shared in every language imaginable. People in India were translating the story into Hindi. People in Brazil were sharing it in Portuguese. People in Germany were talking about it in German, even though they all spoke different languages. Everyone understood the universal language of kindness that Prince William had shown. Facebook was filled with thousands of comments from parents who said the moment reminded them of how they tried to comfort their own children. One mother from Canada wrote, "This is exactly what I would want my husband to do if our daughter was scared at a big event." Prince William showed that being important does not mean you cannot be caring. Instagram was exploding with artistic versions of the moment. People were drawing pictures of Prince William and the little girl. Some were making beautiful paintings of the scene. Others were creating inspirational quotes about kindness and putting them over the image. Creative people everywhere were finding ways to celebrate this touching moment. YouTube videos about the moment were getting millions of views within hours. People were making reaction videos, showing themselves watching the ceremony and crying happy tears when they saw Prince William smile. Commentary channels were analyzing every second of the interaction and praising the future king for his natural compassion. Even people who were not usually emotionally found themselves getting teary-eyed when they watched the video. John Stevens, a businessman from Chicago, said, "I am not the type of person who usually gets emotional about things I see on television, but something about that moment just hit me right in the heart. It was so genuine and beautiful." The hashtag Prince William moment started trending worldwide within 2 hours of the ceremony. Millions of people were using it to share their thoughts and feelings about what they had witnessed. The hashtag became a place where people from all over the world could come together and celebrate kindness and compassion. News websites were struggling to keep up with the traffic. Everyone wanted to read more about the moment and see the video again. Website servers were crashing because so many people were trying to access the same content at the same time. It was clear that this single moment of kindness had captured the attention of the entire world in a way that nobody had expected. Back at Westminster Abbey, the ceremony continued, but the atmosphere had changed completely. The little girl who had been crying was now sitting quietly with a small smile on her face. She kept looking toward Prince William, hoping to catch another glimpse of the kind prince who had made her feel better. Her parents were amazed at how quickly their daughter had calmed down after that simple gesture. The little girl's name was Sophie Chen, and she was 5 years old. Her father, David Chen, worked as a diplomat for the Canadian government, which was why their family had been invited to this important ceremony. Sophie had been excited to see a real prince, but when she got to the Abbey and saw how big and formal everything was, she had become frightened. Sophie's mother, Linda Chen, whispered to her husband, "Did you see what just happened?" The prince looked right at Sophie and smiled at her. "I have never seen anything like that before." David nodded, still amazed by what he had witnessed, pulled out his phone and quickly sent a message to his brother back in Toronto saying, "You will not believe what just happened to Sophie at the royal ceremony." As the ceremony went on, Sophie found herself becoming more and more interested in everything around her. The fear she had felt earlier was completely gone, replaced by wonder and curiosity. She watched as Prince William continued with the formal parts of the ceremony, but she kept remembering that warm smile he had given her. It made her feel special and important. When the ceremony finally ended, people began to slowly leave the Abbey. The Chen family stayed in their seats for a few extra minutes, not wanting to rush into the crowd. Sophie was looking around, hoping she might see Prince William again. She had so many questions about what it was like to be a prince and whether he lived in a real castle. As they were getting ready to leave, something wonderful happened. A palace official approached the Chen family. The official was a kind-looking woman in a dark blue suit who had a friendly smile. She introduced herself. As Mrs. Robertson had said, she worked for the royal family. She asked if she could speak with them for a moment. Mrs. Robertson explained that Prince William had noticed their daughter during the ceremony and wanted to make sure she was feeling better. She said that the prince had been concerned about the little girl and had asked his staff to check on her. The Chen family could hardly believe what they were hearing. A future king had been thinking about their daughter even after the ceremony had ended. Mrs. Robertson then said something that made Sophie's eyes grow wide with excitement. She said that Prince William would like to meet Sophie personally if her parents agreed. The prince had a few minutes before his next official duty and wanted to say hello to the little girl who had touched his heart during the ceremony. Sophie's parents looked at each other in amazement. They had never imagined that anything like this would happen. They quickly agreed, and Mrs. Robertson led them to a quiet room near the back of the Abbey. Sophie held her parents' hands tightly, feeling both excited and nervous about meeting a real prince. The room was small and comfortable, with beautiful old paintings on the walls and soft chairs. There were flowers in vases, and the whole room smelled lovely. Sophie looked around with wide eyes, thinking that this must be what a palace looked like. She had never been in such a fancy room before. After a few minutes, the door opened, and Prince William walked in. He was still wearing his ceremonial clothes, but he had a relaxed and friendly expression on his face. When he saw Sophie, he smiled the same warm smile that had comforted her during the ceremony. Sophie felt her nervousness disappear immediately. Prince William knelt down so he was at the same height as Sophie. He spoke to her in a gentle voice, asking if she was feeling better now. Sophie nodded and told him that she had been scared because everything was so big and fancy. Prince William laughed kindly and said that he sometimes felt scared at big events too. Even though he was a grown dash-up, Sophie asked Prince William if he really lived in a castle. He smiled and told her that he lived in a palace which was similar to a castle, but with more comfortable furniture. Sophie asked if he had a crown, and Prince William explained that he would get a crown when he became king. But for now, he just had the special clothes he was wearing today. The conversation continued for several minutes, with Prince William asking Sophie about her favorite games and what she liked to do at home. Sophie told him about her pet cat and her favorite books. Prince William listened carefully to everything she said, making her feel like the most important person in the world. Before they said goodbye, Prince William asked Sophie if she would like to have her picture taken with him. Sophie's parents could hardly believe their good fortune. They took several photos of Sophie standing next to Prince William, both of them smiling happily. Sophie would treasure these photos for the rest of her life. As they were leaving, Prince William gave Sophie a small gift. It was a beautiful pin with the royal family crest on it. He told her that it was a special pin that only very special people received. Sophie held the pin carefully in her small hands, feeling like she had just received the most precious treasure in the world. The Chen family left Westminster Abbey that day feeling like they had experienced something truly magical. Sophie talked about her meeting with Prince William for the entire car ride home. She could not wait to tell her friends at school about the kind prince who had smiled at her and then taken the time to meet her personally. Word about Prince William's personal meeting with Sophie Chen spread quickly through the diplomatic community in London. David Chen had shared the story with his colleagues at the Canadian embassy, and they were all amazed by what had happened. They had attended many royal events over the years, but none of them had ever heard of a royal family member going out of their way to comfort a child and then arrange a private meeting. At Buckingham Palace, the royal staff were not surprised by Prince William's actions at all. They had worked with him for many years and had seen his natural kindness toward children countless times before. Mrs. Margaret Powell, who had been working for the royal family for over 20 years, told her colleagues this is exactly the kind of person Prince William has always been. He has never been able to see a child in distress without wanting to help. The palace staff shared many stories about Prince William's compassionate nature. There was the time he had stopped his official car to help a young boy who had fallen off his bicycle. There was another occasion when he had spent an extra hour at a hospital visit because he did not want to leave until he had spoken to every sick child there. These stories never made it into the newspapers because Prince William preferred to keep his acts of kindness private. Catherine, Princess of Wales, was not surprised by her husband's behavior either. She had fallen in love with him partly because of his kind heart and his natural way with children. She remembered how gentle he had been with their own children when they were babies, always patient and caring, no matter how tired he was from his royal duties. Their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, had grown up seeing their father's compassion in action. At home, Prince William was just dad to them. But they had also seen how he treated other children with the same love and attention he gave them. Charlotte had once asked her father why he was always so nice to kids they met at events. Prince William had told her because every child deserves to feel special and loved. Back in Canada, Sophie's story was becoming famous. Her uncle in Toronto had shared David Chen's message with his friends, and soon local news stations were calling the family asking for interviews. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation wanted to do a special story about the little Canadian girl who had captured Prince William's attention. Sophie's school in London was buzzing with excitement when she returned on Monday morning. Her teacher, Miss Sarah Thompson, had seen the ceremony on television and had recognized Sophie in the crowd. When Sophie showed her classmates the special royal pin that Prince William had given her, they all gathered around in amazement. Some of the children had never even seen a real royal pin before. The other parents at Sophie's school were talking about what had happened. Many of them were from different countries because it was an international school for diplomatic families. Parents from Germany, France, Japan, and Brazil were all discussing how impressed they were with Prince William's behavior. They felt it showed the best qualities of British culture and hospitality. Meanwhile, Royal experts and commentators around the world were analyzing what Prince William's actions meant for the future of the monarchy. Professor Elizabeth Hamilton from Oxford University, who had studied the royal family for 30 years, appeared on television to discuss the significance of the moment. She said this interaction shows us that Prince William understands that being royal in the modern world means being accessible and human. He instinctively knew that comforting that child was more important than following strict protocol. Dr. James Mitchell, a child psychology expert, was interviewed by several news programs about the impact such moments could have on children. He explained, "When a figure of authority and importance takes time to acknowledge and comfort a child, it can have a profound positive effect on that child's self-esteem and confidence." Sophie will likely remember this moment for the rest of her life as proof that she matters and that her feelings are important. The story was having an impact, far beyond just one little girl and her family. Schools around the world began using the video of Prince William's gesture as a teaching tool about empathy and kindness. Teachers would show the clip to their students and then discuss how small acts of kindness could make a big difference in someone's day. Mental health organizations praised Prince William for demonstrating that even the most powerful and busy people could take time to care about others' feelings. The Charity Mind, which focuses on mental health issues, released a statement saying Prince William's natural response to comfort a distressed child shows the importance of acknowledging and responding to emotional needs regardless of the setting or circumstances. Children's hospitals reported that young patients were talking about the kind prince and asking if he might visit them too. Many children who were scared about medical procedures were being reminded of how Prince William had helped Sophie feel better, and it was giving them courage to face their own fears. The impact was also being felt in other royal families around the world. The Swedish royal family's social media team shared the video with a message about the importance of compassion and leadership. The Dutch royal family's official account posted about how genuine human connection transcends all boundaries and protocols. Religious leaders from different faiths also praised Prince William's actions. The Archbishop of Canterbury said, "This moment reminds us all of the Christian value of caring for the most vulnerable among us, especially children." Islamic, Jewish, and Hindu leaders also shared similar messages about the universal importance of kindness and compassion. Back at Buckingham Palace, Prince William was receiving hundreds of letters from families around the world. Parents were writing to thank him for showing their children that important people could also be kind people. Children were sending him drawings and letters, telling him about their own experiences feeling scared and how his smile had inspired them to be braver. The palace staff were amazed by the volume of positive responses they were receiving. Usually, royal events generated some media attention and then were forgotten. But this moment seemed to have touched something deeper in people's hearts. The mailroom was working overtime to process all the letters and emails coming in from around the world. 3 months after the ceremony, the impact of that single moment was still being felt everywhere. Sophie Chen had become something of a celebrity at her school and in her neighborhood. Other children would ask her to tell the story about meeting Prince William over and over again. Each time she told it, her eyes would light up with the same excitement she had felt that day. Sophie's parents noticed that their daughter had become more confident and outgoing since meeting Prince William. She was no longer shy about speaking up in class or meeting new people. The experience had taught her that even the most important people in the world could be kind and approachable. This lesson was shaping the way she saw herself and her place in the world. The royal pin that Prince William had given Sophie was carefully displayed in a special place in her bedroom. She would show it to visitors and explain that it was given to her by a real prince who was going to be king someday. Her friends were always impressed, and Sophie felt proud to have such a special treasure that connected her to the royal family. Back in England, Prince William continued his royal duties as usual, but he often thought about his meeting with Sophie. He had received updates from the palace staff about how much the encounter had meant to her and her family. It reminded him of why he loved working with children and why he wanted to make sure his future reign would be accessible to people of all ages. The video of Prince William's kind gesture had been watched over 50 million times across all social media platforms. It had been translated into dozens of languages and shared in countries around the world. The moment had become one of the most watched royal moments in internet history, surpassing even clips from his wedding to Catherine. Documentary filmmakers began including the moment in their projects about modern royalty. The clip was featured in a Netflix series about the evolution of the British monarchy, with experts explaining how this single gesture represented a new approach to royal duty. The documentary showed how Prince William's generation of royals was more focused on human connection than previous generations. Art students at universities around the world created paintings, sculptures, and digital artwork inspired by the moment. An art gallery in New York held a special exhibition called Moments of Compassion that featured 20 different artistic interpretations of Prince William's smile and Sophie's reaction. The exhibition was so popular that it was extended for an additional 3 months. The moment also inspired several children's books. Authors wrote stories about kind princes who helped scared children, and illustrators created beautiful drawings, showing the power of a simple smile. These books became popular in schools and libraries, teaching children about empathy and kindness through the real-life example of Prince William and Sophie. News organizations created annual lists of the most heartwarming moments of the year, and Prince William's gesture consistently appeared at the top. Journalists who had covered royal events for decades said they had never seen a single moment generate such lasting positive impact. The story continued to be referenced whenever discussions arose about the future of the monarchy. International leadership conferences began using the video as an example of authentic leadership. Business schools showed the clip to future executives, discussing how genuine care for others could be more powerful than any formal authority. The moment became a case study in how small actions could have enormous impact when they came from the heart. Sophie's story inspired other children around the world. The palace received thousands of drawings and messages from children sharing their own experiences of feeling scared or overwhelmed. Many children wrote that seeing how Prince William had helped Sophie made them feel braver in their own difficult situations. The Chen family was invited to several events related to the anniversary of the ceremony. Sophie got to meet other children who had been helped by Prince William's charitable work over the years. She realized that she was part of a much larger group of children whose lives had been touched by the future. King's kindness and compassion. Prince William established a new initiative called Small Gestures, Big Impact, that encouraged people to perform simple acts of kindness in their daily lives. The program was inspired directly by his experience with Sophie and the overwhelming response it had generated. Schools, businesses, and community groups across the Commonwealth countries participated in the initiative. On the first anniversary of the ceremony, Sophie and her family received a special invitation to attend a tea party at Kensington Palace. Prince William and Catherine hosted several families whose children had been helped by royal charitable programs. Sophie was thrilled to see Prince William again and to show him how much she had grown over the past year. During the tea party, Prince William told Sophie that meeting her had been one of the highlights of his year. He said that her courage in facing her fears had inspired him to continue looking for ways to help other children feel safe and valued. Sophie beamed with pride, understanding that their meeting had been important to him too. The legacy of that moment at Westminster Abbey continued to grow. Teachers around the world used the story to teach lessons about empathy. Parents shared the video with their children to show them the importance of being kind to others. Mental health professionals used it as an example of how acknowledging someone's feelings could provide immediate comfort and support. Years later, when people look back at Prince William's early years as a future king, many would point to that moment with Sophie as defining who he truly was. It showed that beneath all the formal titles and ceremonial duties was a man who genuinely cared about people, especially children who needed comfort and reassurance. The simple smile that lasted only a few seconds had created ripples that spread around the world and continued to inspire acts of kindness and compassion. It proved that sometimes the smallest gestures could have the most profound and lasting impact on both individuals and society as a whole. Prince William had shown that true leadership meant never being too important to care about a frightened child.